The sky above Earth had always seemed peaceful. From the deserts of Africa to the oceans of the Pacific, humans looked up and imagined nothing but stars, beauty, and mystery. But that night the stars themselves betrayed a new reality. A dark shadow appeared in orbit, moving with precision and speed no human craft could match. It was a fleet. Not a single ship, but hundreds, sleek and black, lined with unknown technology. They moved in perfect formation, as if the entire fleet shared a single mind. Every nation on Earth watched, every eye glued to screens, satellites, and telescopes. Governments scrambled, and the United Nations held an emergency meeting in New York, bringing together leaders from all corners of the world. The aliens were called the Zirans. At least that was the name given to them by the first signals their ships emitted. The sound of their language was harsh and commanding. It wasn't words humans could understand. It was a tone that demanded attention, respect, and fear. The message was simple: surrender or be destroyed. Panic spread quickly. People feared the end of their cities, the end of their way of life, and perhaps the end of humanity itself. Satellites in low orbit were the first targets, and soon, small skirmishes erupted in space. Humans had ships, yes, but nothing like the Zirans' fleet. Their lasers cut through defenses as if they were made of glass, and their shields seemed to shrug off every human attempt to strike back. On Earth, scientists and engineers worked quietly, behind locked doors and top-level security. They had known this day might come. For decades, humanity had been preparing, not just to defend, but to strike back. Hidden in deep space, at secret stations and cloaked facilities, a small fleet had been quietly assembled. These ships were advanced, built with ingenuity instead of raw power. While smaller than the Ziran fleet, they were designed to surprise, to exploit weaknesses that only human minds could imagine. Commander Elena Vasquez watched the approaching fleet from the bridge of the orbital command station. Her hands shook slightly, though she tried to appear calm. She had trained for this moment, but nothing in her years of experience could prepare her for the sight of hundreds of alien ships, perfectly aligned, moving like a single organism. "They're huge," whispered Lieutenant Park, standing beside her. "And they're fast." "Too fast?" Elena nodded, her eyes never leaving the view screen. "Yes, but remember, we have a plan. One fleet is not enough to take us all. Humanity has always found a way. We will too." Meanwhile, news spread across the world. In New York, Paris, Tokyo, and Delhi, citizens watched as their governments struggled to respond. Rumors of panic spread. Some said Earth had no chance. Others whispered that humans might fight, but who could stop a fleet that seemed unstoppable? Even the bravest soldiers felt fear gnawing at their resolve, but not everyone was afraid. In secret, some smiled. They knew what the Zirans did not. The first fleet they saw was only a fraction of what Earth could truly bring. 10 fleets waiting quietly would soon appear. The Zirans believed they had humanity cornered. They believed Earth was weak, unprepared, and inferior. "Commander," said Park, his voice tense, "they've started communications. They're demanding." Elena leaned closer. The message was simple, direct, and chilling. "Submit or die." Her jaw tightened. She had expected this. She had expected fear, but she also knew the strength of humans. Humans were not creatures who surrendered easily. They fought with courage, with cunning, and with creativity. Humanity had survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and disasters that should have ended them. They would survive this too. In the distance, the first missiles fired by human orbital defenses streaked toward the alien fleet. They were tiny sparks against the darkness of the Ziran ships. Most were destroyed instantly, but a few grazed the shields of one vessel, enough to draw curiosity from the aliens. They had not expected resistance. Elena gave her orders quietly but firmly. "Hold formation. Do not fire unless necessary. Observe. Learn. We cannot win by strength alone, but we can win by thinking." For hours, the fleet watched the alien ships. Scientists analyzed movements, engineers adjusted weapons, and soldiers held their nerves. Humanity was small compared to the Zirans, but they were clever. They noticed patterns in alien attacks, predicting strikes before they happened. Every small victory, every successful maneuver built confidence. As night fell over the planet, Earth remained intact, though the shadow of fear hung over every city. Humanity had survived the first day. They had watched the fleet, they had endured the threats, and they had learned that perhaps the Zirans were not invincible. And far away, in secret locations, 10 fleets waited. Fully armed, fully ready, their engines humming with quiet power. Soon the Zirans would learn that one fleet was terrifying, but 10 fleets would be unstoppable. For now, humanity endured, and in the quiet of space a spark of hope began to grow, a hope that would soon turn into a blazing fire, ready to challenge the stars themselves. The sky above the outer colonies burned with streaks of light. The Zirans had begun their attack in full force. Mining stations, once peaceful and busy with human workers, were now under fire. Their massive ships cut through defense satellites with precision. Humans watched in fear, realizing that the alien strength was more than just numbers. They were faster, smarter, and nearly unstoppable. Commander Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the orbital command station, her face lit by blinking monitors. Her hands moved quickly over controls, issuing orders to defensive stations scattered across the solar system. "Hold your positions," she said calmly. "Do not panic. Every ship we have must survive. Every move counts." Lieutenant Park, her second-in-command, frowned. "Commander, they're advancing faster than predicted. If we lose the outer colonies, we lose our supply lines. They'll trap us here." Elena's eyes narrowed. "Then we make them fight smarter. Humans are clever and we will prove it." In orbit around Mars, the first battle began. A small squadron of human ships, only a fraction of the Ziran fleet, intercepted a strike group of alien vessels. The humans were outnumbered 3-1. The alien lasers cut through empty space with deadly accuracy. For a moment, it seemed the squadron would be destroyed. But humans had something the Zirans had not expected: ingenuity. One pilot, a young woman named Lieutenant Aisha Khan, maneuvered her ship through a narrow asteroid field. The Ziran ships, large and rigid, struggled to follow. Aisha's squadron used the terrain to hide, to strike from unexpected angles, and to confuse the enemy. Explosions erupted around them, fire and debris lighting the void. Yet slowly the humans began to hold their ground. Every small hit on a Ziran ship sent a message: humans would not be easy prey. Back on Earth, the news of the first human victory spread like wildfire. It was small, almost symbolic, but it lifted spirits. Humanity had survived the first attack. Humanity had struck back. Citizens cheered, soldiers smiled, and scientists continued their work, analyzing every movement of the alien fleet. In secret, Earth's engineers celebrated another kind of victory. Their hidden fleet, the 10 secret fleets, had been quietly preparing for this moment. Though unseen, their readiness meant that humanity had a plan beyond mere defense. The Zirans thought they had cornered Earth, but humans had been waiting, learning and preparing in silence. Meanwhile, the Zirans were confused. They had never faced resistance like this. Their ships, powerful and fast, were not used to humans who could think creatively under pressure. The aliens communicated in their harsh tones, demanding surrender again, but the humans refused. The message from Earth was clear: humanity would fight to the last ship if necessary, and they would fight smart. Commander Elena observed the movements of the Ziran fleet. "They are learning from us," she said. "They expected fear. They expected surrender. But we give them neither. Observe their patterns, find their weakness, and humans did. Using small, unexpected strategies, they managed to slow the Zirans' advance. One group of ships pretended to retreat, luring the Zirans into a trap. Hidden mines, laser-guided drones, and clever maneuvers allowed humans to damage several alien ships. It was not a large victory, but it was enough to shock the Zirans. In the darkness of space, for the first time, the Zirans hesitated. They did not expect one fleet so small compared to theirs to resist so effectively. Their arrogance began to crack. They had faced many species before, and all had yielded quickly. But humans were different. Humans fought with courage, creativity, and a will that could not be measured by size alone. Back on Earth, Elena received reports from Lieutenant Khan. "We've damaged 3 of their ships," Khan said. "They're regrouping." "They did not expect this. They're cautious." Elena smiled faintly. "Good. That caution is the first step toward understanding. And understanding is weakness for them. We will use it." Throughout the battle, humanity endured. Every small victory, every clever maneuver built confidence. Soldiers began to believe that the Zirans could be beaten. Citizens began to hope that Earth might survive, that humans might even triumph. And in the shadows of deep space, the 10 secret fleets remained hidden, waiting for the moment to reveal themselves. They were ready, fully armed, and capable of overwhelming any force the Zirans could throw at Earth. But for now, humans fought with what they had: courage, intelligence, and determination. As the battle drew to a temporary pause, the Zirans withdrew to analyze the humans' tactics. They had faced fleets before, but never fleets that thought differently, fought differently, and refused to surrender. Humanity had surprised them, and the Zirans realized that one fleet was not enough to crush Earth. Elena looked at the stars and whispered to herself, "We have survived the first clash. But this is only the beginning. Soon they will see what it truly means to face humanity." The first clash had ended, but the war was far from over. Humanity had learned its enemy's power and shown its own strength. The Zirans would never underestimate Earth again. And soon, when the 10 hidden fleets emerged, the galaxy would see that humanity was not weak. It was unstoppable. The Zirans had expected fear. They had expected humans to surrender after seeing the might of their fleet. But now confusion and frustration filled their minds. One small fleet had resisted them and even damaged a few of their ships. The aliens had never faced such resistance before. Meanwhile, on Earth, the leaders were calm. They had prepared for this moment for decades. Hidden deep in secret locations across the solar system were 10 full human fleets waiting silently. Each fleet was filled with ships bristling with advanced weapons, shields, and AI-assisted strategy systems. The Zirans had no idea they existed. Commander Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the orbital command station, looking at the screens filled with fleet movements. "It is time," she said quietly. "The world must see what humanity can do." In orbit above Earth, a massive broadcast began. Every human colony, every ship, and even the Zirans themselves received the message. Images of 10 fleets fully prepared emerged from hidden jump points near planets, asteroids, and deep space stations. They moved with precision and coordination that seemed almost impossible. The Zirans' communication channels buzzed with panic. Their commanders could not believe what they were seeing. 10 fleets? 10 fleets? One of their leaders repeated in disbelief. They had thought one fleet would be enough to force Earth into submission. They had underestimated humanity. On the human side, celebrations were quiet but powerful. Scientists, engineers, and soldiers watched their plans come together perfectly. For decades, humanity had built these fleets with a single goal: survival. But survival was not enough. Now humans were ready to show the galaxy that they were a force to be reckoned with. The 10 fleets moved in perfect formation, each one supporting the other. Sensors scanned for enemy positions, AI-assisted systems predicted movements, and human commanders made decisions with unmatched speed and accuracy. Every fleet had its own specialty. One fleet was designed for speed and precision strikes, another for heavy weapons and shields, a third for electronic warfare, and the others each had unique abilities. Together they were unstoppable. The Zirans scrambled to respond. Their ships shifted formations, trying to find a weakness, trying to attack before humans could coordinate. But it was too late. The humans were already moving in perfect harmony. Every maneuver, every strike, every defensive action worked together like the parts of a single machine. Commander Elena addressed her crews. "This is what we have worked for. This is what humanity is capable of. Show them that we are not weak. Show them that we are clever. Show them that we will never surrender." The first human attacks were strategic, not reckless. Small strikes targeted weak points in the Ziran shields. Electronic pulses disrupted enemy communications. Decoy ships distracted their forces, drawing them into traps. Every move was calculated, designed to teach the Zirans a lesson they would never forget. For the first time, the Zirans began to feel fear. They had faced countless civilizations, but never one that combined courage, strategy, and unity in such a way. They began to understand that the humans were not only strong, they were smart, adaptive, and relentless. In the command center of one Ziran flagship, the lead officer shouted in frustration, "How can one species think so differently? They are small, their ships are weaker, and yet they move as if they are 10 times stronger." Elena smiled as she watched the alien reactions on the tactical screens. Humans had won the first mental victory. The Zirans had been arrogant, and now they were shaken. The revelation of 10 fleets was more than numbers. It was a symbol. Humanity was no longer hidden, weak, or fearful. Humanity was organized, intelligent, and capable of facing the strongest enemy the galaxy had ever seen. Back on Earth, The people watched the broadcast with pride. Children looked up at the stars and imagined a future where humanity was respected across the galaxy. Soldiers prepared for the battles ahead, knowing that their courage and skill would decide the fate of the planet. The Xerans tried to regroup, but every attempt to attack was met with precise human countermeasures. They realized that brute force alone would not win this war. Humanity had something they could not predict: creativity, courage, and the ability to learn faster than any enemy. As the 10 fleets moved closer, the Xerans began to retreat slightly, rethinking their strategy. They understood that Earth was no longer just a single planet. It was a symbol of resistance, a new power in the galaxy, and that symbol was growing stronger every second. Commander Elena looked at the view screen, the 10 fleets shining like a shield around Earth. She whispered, "This is only the beginning. They thought one fleet could terrify us. Soon they will know what it means to face 10, and when they do, they will remember humanity forever." The revelation was complete. The Xerans had been warned. Earth was no longer vulnerable. Humanity was ready to fight, not just to survive, but to protect its home, its people, and its place among the stars. And as the 10 fleets advanced, the first signs of hope appeared in the hearts of every human. From the smallest child to the greatest leader, Earth would not fall. The space between Earth and the outer colonies became a chessboard of stars and ships. The Xerans had regrouped, but the humans were ready. 10 fleets moved in perfect harmony, each one covering the other, each one ready for any attack. What the Xerans had once seen as a weak, small planet now stood as a giant in the galaxy, organized, united, and dangerous. Commander Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the flagship Resolute, observing the enemy. "They are testing us," she said. "They think they can find a weakness. Let them try. We will show them there is none." Lieutenant Park nodded. "Our ships are faster than they imagine, and our strategies are unexpected. They have no idea what humans are capable of." Elena smiled faintly. "Then it is time to remind them." The Xerans launched their first coordinated strike. Hundreds of their ships moved in a wedge formation, aiming for the largest human fleet. Beams of energy cut through space, lighting up the darkness. But humans had prepared for this. Decoy ships moved ahead, drawing enemy fire. Electronic pulses disrupted Xeran targeting systems. Missiles launched from hidden angles, forcing the aliens to split their formation. In the chaos, Lieutenant Aisha Khan led a daring maneuver. Her squadron slipped between 2 Xeran warships, firing precision lasers at their engines. One ship slowed, another spun out of control. The Xerans had never experienced tactics like this. They were used to overwhelming power, not clever tricks. Meanwhile, the human fleets coordinated like a single mind. One fleet acted as a trap, another attacked from behind, and a third blocked the Xerans from retreating. Sensors predicted enemy movements, while human commanders made decisions faster than the Xerans could react. It was a battle of wits, not just weapons, and humans were proving smarter at every turn. "Commander," Park said. "They're adapting. They're learning from our moves." "Good," Elena replied. "Let them learn. Every time they think they understand us, we will change. Humans do not fight the same way twice. They will never predict everything we do." The Xerans, once arrogant, began to feel frustration. Their massive ships were powerful but slow to adapt. Each time they attacked, humans had already anticipated the move. Their shields held, their formations shifted, and their weapons struck with precision. Every Xeran strike that failed only strengthened human confidence. In the midst of the battle, small victories multiplied. A hidden fleet jumped from behind an asteroid belt, taking the Xerans by surprise. Another fleet used advanced AI to coordinate attacks across multiple star systems, creating confusion among the aliens. The humans were no longer defending, they were controlling the fight. Back on Earth, citizens watched the broadcasts with awe. Children cheered as the human fleets turned near certain defeat into stunning success. Scientists analyzed each move, learning from the humans' tactics while soldiers on distant planets prepared for the next engagement. Humanity's courage and intelligence inspired hope across the world. The Xerans tried every trick they knew. They split their forces, attempted to flank human fleets, and used powerful weapons to destroy entire sections of space. But nothing worked. Humans adapted faster, reacted smarter, and stayed united. It was not the strongest who won this battle. It was the clever, the brave, and the determined Lieutenant Khan piloted her ship through the center of a Xeran formation, dodging blasts and firing with precision. "They're panicking," she reported. They don't expect us to fight like this. They don't understand how humans think. Elena nodded. Exactly. This is what makes us different. They see numbers and power. We see opportunity and strategy. That is our true strength. As hours passed, the Zirans' wedge formation began to collapse. Their ships, though powerful, could not match human coordination and adaptability. One by one, Ziran vessels were forced to retreat, regroup, or face destruction. Humans had turned fear into courage and weakness into strength. In the center of the battlefield, the Resolute fired a carefully timed salvo. Explosions erupted among the Zirans, creating a path for other human fleets to advance. It was not reckless. Every move was calculated, every action part of a larger plan. Humans had become a force of strategy, ingenuity, and precision. Finally, the Ziran commander signaled a temporary retreat. They were beaten but not destroyed. They would live to fight another day, but their arrogance had been shattered. Humanity had survived, and more than that, they had proved that courage, intelligence, and unity could defeat raw power. Elena watched the stars in silence, her heart steady but proud. "This is only the beginning," she whispered. "They now know humans are not weak. They know we are clever, adaptable, and united. But they do not yet know our full power." For humans, the victory was both thrilling and sobering. The Zirans had been strong, but Earth had been stronger, not through size or firepower, but through strategy, courage, and the unbreakable will to survive. Humanity had learned an important lesson. Brains, bravery, and unity could overcome even the most terrifying enemy. And in the quiet of space, hidden fleets waited, ready to take the next step. The Zirans had been challenged, humiliated, and confused. Soon they would face the full force of humanity, and when that day came, the galaxy would see that Earth was not just a planet. It was a power that could not be ignored. The stars were quiet now, but the memory of battle lingered. The Zirans had retreated, their massive fleet shattered and confused by the 10 human fleets. For the first time in their history, they had faced a species that refused to surrender, a species that fought with brains, courage, and unity. Commander Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the flagship Resolute, watching the aftermath. Broken Ziran ships drifted in space, some burning, some disabled. But more importantly, the humans had survived. Not one fleet had been lost, and every ship had returned ready for the next challenge. Lieutenant Park approached her, his expression serious but relieved. "They won't come back soon," he said. "Not like this. They've learned something. They've learned that humans cannot be crushed easily." Elena nodded. "Yes, but we must remain vigilant. This victory is important, but the galaxy is vast and other dangers await. We must show not only strength but wisdom." Across the fleet, celebrations were quiet but heartfelt. Sailors and pilots hugged. Engineers smiled at the success of their designs, and every human involved felt pride in what they had achieved. Earth had faced the greatest threat it had ever known, and humanity had not only survived, it had triumphed. In orbit above Earth, the planet itself seemed to shine brighter. Citizens looked up at the stars, realizing that the humans who once feared the unknown had become a symbol of hope and courage. Children dreamed of joining the fleets one day. Scientists imagined new technologies inspired by the clever strategies used in battle, and leaders knew that Earth had earned respect across the galaxy. The Zirans, meanwhile, held a council aboard their remaining ships. Their pride had been shattered. They had underestimated humans, assumed they were weak, and thought one fleet would terrify an entire planet. They had been wrong. For the first time, they feared the creatures they had once considered insignificant. Commander Elena received reports from the fleets. Communications were open, and humans reached out to other nearby civilizations, some of whom had also observed the battle. Many smaller races had been afraid of the Zirans for centuries. Now, seeing humanity's courage and intelligence, they were inspired. Some began quietly sending messages of alliance, eager to learn from humans or even join forces to protect their own planets. Elena turned to her crew. "This is our chance," she said. "Humanity has always survived, but now we have the opportunity to lead, to protect, and to grow. Let the Zirans know that Earth is not a planet to be conquered. Let the galaxy know that humans are clever, brave, and united." The fleets began to move in formation, spreading across nearby star systems. Human ships carried aid to colonies damaged in the battle, repaired stations, and helped rebuild infrastructure. At the same time, Scouts explored new sectors, mapping the stars and looking for potential threats and potential allies. Humanity was no longer just surviving. It was expanding, learning, and preparing for the future. In the quiet of her command room, Elena reflected on the journey. From the fear of the first Xiran fleet to the surprise of 10 coordinated human fleets, it had been a long and dangerous path. Yet humans had endured. They had fought not only with technology, but with courage, ingenuity, and unity. They had reminded themselves, and the galaxy, that no matter the odds, humans would rise to meet every challenge. Back on Earth, people celebrated. Streets were filled with joy and relief. Families embraced, and children looked up at the sky, imagining the future. Humanity had survived the first great test, but it had also proven something far greater. They were ready for whatever lay ahead. The Xirans, battered and cautious, began to retreat further into uncharted space. Their arrogance had been broken, and their respect for humanity had grown. They would remember this defeat for generations. They had faced one planet that refused to surrender, and they had learned that humans were not a species to underestimate. Commander Elena looked at the stars once more. 1 fleet was enough to scare them, she said softly. But 10 fleets. 10 fleets showed them the truth. Humanity is clever. Humanity is brave. And humanity will not be forgotten. The fleets continued to move through space, a symbol of unity, intelligence, and hope. Earth had faced the galaxy's greatest threat and had emerged victorious. Humanity had not only survived, they had ascended. The galaxy would remember this day forever. The day humans proved that courage, strategy, and unity could challenge even the most powerful force in the stars. And as the fleets glided silently among the stars, one thought filled every human heart. The future was theirs.